What is up, guys? This is Jared Spalding here, and today I'm going to be talking about when silver stacking, how to be ahead of the game. And if you don't know what I mean by this, basically what I'm saying is how to be ahead of, all the hype that comes with, the different markets, different commodities, because that will happen a lot of times. That's what forms a bubble, of course. It's when all the media attention comes on it. And I did talk about before how to use the media to profit off of silver, but today I'm just going to talk, about how to really be ahead of the game. So let's just get right into this. There's a few suggestions I have, a few really good times to buy. First of all, and here's the best time to buy, is right after a bubble popping. A lot of people, of course, because the way a bubble is going to work is a certain commodity will become overvalued because it starts getting hyped up, and then the media jumps on it, and it becomes really a bandwagon. Like, before, nobody had ever heard of this. I mean, people had heard of it, but nobody was really, involved in this commodity. It was really undervalued, and that's really what leads to potential, is when a commodity is undervalued, like precious metals are right now, especially silver. And once a commodity is undervalued, it starts to have all this potential, and that's, people will see the potential, and what they'll do is they'll start investing, but there's two different types of investors. There's smart investors who are ahead of the game, and then there's bandwagon investors. And those bandwagon investors are the ones that start investing once the media jumps all over it. Once it becomes on the cover, once precious metals are on the cover of every wealth magazine, every magazine is talking about finances, that's when everybody jumps on it. And then it really does become a bandwagon because, honestly, unless you had heard about it, you wouldn't have invested in this commodity. And then ordinary people who never even thought about investing before start jumping on the bandwagon, and it becomes super overvalued because of the fact that the demand goes way up for it, and the supply continues to go down or stays what it's currently at. And then what happens is there's a little bit of a tipping point. There's a point where silver kind of plateaus, and then it starts to go down. And as soon as it goes down, the media tries to jump right out of it. Everyone tries to get out of their precious metal, and everybody who's following the media is going to lose big time on it, because what you've probably done is let's say silver started at 15 an ounce, and then you started buying at 25 an ounce. It peaked at 50 an ounce, and it went back down to, let's say, 40 an ounce, and you sold. Yeah, you did make some money, and I'm not going to lie, made a decent amount, but for one, it was probably difficult to sell at bars, and you might not even be able to sell them for what you wanted to get out of them. But for two, you didn't make the most money you could have, and you were not ahead of the game. And here's how to stay ahead of the game when it comes to a bubble forming with precious metals, and that is, you invest when the metal is undervalued, like what me and all the other fellow stackers are doing right now. Silver and gold are undervalued right now. Silver was going down as low as $13.90 an ounce. I mean, that's prices we haven't seen since the last bubble popping right after the stock market crash. And sorry about that, and that was pretty insane to see. And they've recovered a little bit now. The demand's gone up for them, and people are moving into precious metals as the stock market's been doing really bad lately. Some people moved into precious metals, and that's what brought them up a little bit. The commodity became a little bit more valued than the stock market did, or at least it gained a little bit more value than the stock market did. And what happened then was the price was driven up, but it's nothing major. There's no bubble on it yet. And what's going to happen with silver and gold, inevitably, if I can pronounce that word, that'd be great. But what's going to happen is there's going to be another bubble that forms around it. I mean, that's what always happens with precious metal, or every commodity. It follows a cycle, and it might not be for a while, but another bubble will form. But you have to see that bubble forming before anybody else sees it. And that's really what is going to bring you ahead of the game, because you'll invest before anybody else is. You'll already have all this silver saved up that you bought at the, right after a bubble popped for super cheap. And then silver and gold will start becoming overvalued again. And once they do, you're going to hold on to it for the ride, let it go up. And, I mean, I don't like to recommend buying low and selling high, but in the form of a bubble, that's when I really would recommend it. But you're going to want to sell when the demand's still there, When you see silver going up to 50 an ounce, you might think it could go higher, and maybe it could. And that's where you are taking the risk. But you don't want to sell once everybody's selling, because then the market becomes oversaturated and the prices drop. so dramatically that you're not going to be making as much as you could be. So it's safer to sell, lock in what you can before, the price drops $10 a day, and then all of a sudden, you're right back down to right after the bubble popping, and you can't sell at a profit anymore. And you just watched all the money you could have made just fly away within a couple of days. And of course, you might try to sell once it goes down by $10 an ounce, but how easy is it going to be to sell? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And it's really not going to be that easy anymore because everybody's going to be selling. There's going to be more silver and gold in the supply than there is in demand, and that's what brings the price down, of course. And then, you're just following the sheep, basically. You're part of the pack. You're not ahead of the pack, and that's where you really want to be when investing. Make sure that you're selling right when the demand's starting to dwindle. And it is tough to find the exact point, That's why I really don't recommend buying low, selling high type of thing, because it is really tough, and eventually you could end up losing out. But bubbles happen so rarely that you really do want to jump on the chance to do it. I'm not talking about, a $2 price change. I'm talking about a $35, $40 price change. It's definitely something you want to make sure you jump on, because once the bubble pops and the market's undervalued, you restart the cycle. You invest a bunch of, your currency into precious metals again, way more than you could before, because now you have 4 times as much currency, pretty much. And, you can, once again, make a bunch of money. And, of course, along the way, you're investing more and more into it. And it's not just like you have to wait 20 years before you can invest anything, because the price is going to go back up slowly, but it's not going to be so high that you're going to have to buy at a loss. You're still going to be buying at a huge profit for you. So, yeah, honestly, that's my advice for just staying ahead of the game. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that is it for this one. Peace, love, and much respect.